evening, everybody, and welcome to our little soiree here from the House of Henry. My dear wife is behind the control panel. She is talking to you, as am I right now. I think let's get straight into a little description of what just occurred there. That, I suppose, was inspired by David Gilmour, as is a lot of the music that I played. And I think the introduction bit with the Zulu singing and the bagpipes and the horses running, the sounds of the bush, the academic festival overture by Brahms, a little bit of other classical music are sort of my favourite things, the things that make me feel happiest. And obviously, you know, I couldn't write my wife into the introduction of that because when I wrote it I hadn't met her yet. Otherwise, I mean, she would obviously be included. I'm quite soft, am I? Just the voice. Shall I turn the voice up? How's that? That should be a bit better. So that's what that was. And the horse, I think, was recorded by a friend of mine whose mother owned a horse, and she put her iPhone down next to the horse and came running past. So that's how I got that sound effect. The Academic Festival Overture by Brahms, I kind of just rewrote myself, pirated it. It's definitely not mine, it's his. There's a little bit of other classical music in there that was inspired by those Jane Austen films like Pride and Prejudice and that sort of thing, where I've always loved those. They have those ballroom scenes in those films and in all the books as well. And there's always this lovely stately dance, and so that's what the other bit of classical music in there was. And then the guitar part, well, that just kind of came to me, I guess, and I really love playing it. So that was Sunrise, and I think we'll move on to the next one now. But for that we need another guitar. Any questions so far?
Everyone's happy with the sound?
Oh, good. Give me a moment or two, everyone. I'm going to have to employ somebody full-time to help me with this. Right. Should have some acoustic guitar. We now need some words. This particular song is called Two Wrongs, and of course two wrongs don't make a right, as you all know. You should know if you didn't. And it was suggested to me by our old drummer, Alasdair, who I've mentioned before. He wrote that song Jerusalem, he wrote the words to that, and he wrote the words to this when we were all very young people. And the music was written by a very good friend of mine, Donald Gibson. I added bits and pieces, but he did most of the music writing. The bass bit was written by a chap called Craig Stone, who used to play in our band. And it was originally sung by a woman called Lenti, who had the most beautiful alto voice. And unfortunately, I don't have an alto voice anymore. I did when I was about 13 or 14, but that disappeared with the advent of testosterone. And so you'll have to accept it sung in a bass. It's an interesting song about, I suppose it's about the things that we wish for, the places we wish we could be in order to escape adversity. That's what it's about. And I wrote some accompaniment to it this week, and I hope it sounds all right. And once again, for those of you who don't know, this comes from my days in a student band called The She, spelt S-I-D-H-E, and that's all I can say really, because there is no excuse for having a band name like that and expecting to make it big. So, two wrongs don't make it right. Here we go. I wish I had a house in the desert where the winds of change don't blow. All the hurt myself a mountain, I'd spend all my time up there, running, laughing in the meadows. There'd be no time for feeling scared when all you've ever known is ripped up and thrown on the floor. Why not just run away? Why come back for more? All the anger on the inside. How do we sleep at night? Two wrongs don't make it right. I wish I had myself a castle with armored knights all around, a moat as deep as the ocean, with walls so thick I couldn't hear the city's sound. I wish I knew where it's all going to end. The center cannot hold, and on all of this you can depend. It's going to carry out to last souls our soul, when all you've ever known is ripped up and thrown on the floor. Why not just run away? Why come back for more? All the anger on the inside. How do we sleep at night? Two wrongs don't make it right. World is suffering in a haze of pain, like a plague of locusts in Pharaoh's land. If we stick together like we can save ourselves from the desert sand. All the anger on the inside. How do we sleep at night? Two wrongs don't make it right. And that is two wrongs don't make it right. Was the sound right?
It is. Your voice a little echoey though.
A bit echoey.
Yeah.
That's the reverb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll fix it next time. Yeah. Okay, good. The next song.
Can I give you some questions?
Yes, you may.
Sue wants to know, do you get nervous before these performances?
Sue, I do sometimes get nervous before these performances. And it's because I suppose we're not optimally technically set up for them. So they get more technically complicated each week. And, it just takes a bit of time to get it all together, and hopefully everything ties in and hopefully everything works. The other thing is that I can't afford to make a huge noise on the guitar during the week, because I'm afraid somebody's going to come and tell me to shut up, and that will kibosh these performances. So I kind of leave it to make a big noise now and muddle along during the week. So, I mean, basically I'm hearing it as it is for the first time with you all. So yes, I do get a bit nervous. You want the vocals up more. Too quiet.
Yeah. And then Jenna wants to know what is the name of the guitar you're using right now?
Jenna, this is a Laravet LV03. Laravet LV03. It's probably about 10 now. No, it's about 11 or 12 years old now. While I wouldn't like to replace it, it's the first really nice guitar I've owned. If the people of Laravet are watching, I'm happy to try your stuff out live. No problem. I don't mind doing that. I really don't at all. Likewise, the people from Fender, if you'd like me to try out any of your new stuff live for an audience, I'll do that for you as well. It's very kind of me. Anything else? Yes. Alasdair Moore, who taught me how to play music? A variety of people, actually. I had one piano lesson from my mother, who doesn't really play the piano. That got me interested. Then I sang in the choir for a long time, and the choir master who was at school when I was there actually is still there to this day, and so I got a lot of my love of music and knowledge of music from him. And then I had studied classical guitar for what we call matric here, which is like, I suppose in the UK it's like an international baccalaureate basically, or in the US it would be the equivalent of your high school, or your final year in high school. So I did classical guitar for that. So there were various teachers who taught me, or tried to teach me the classical guitar. And then I just guessed that the rest of it came, all the technical stuff I've kind of taught myself. Which might be apparent, but that's how it goes. And the music software that I use, you can teach yourself to do it. If you've got half a brain, it's not very hard to use music software these days and compose music on it. Right. Right, the next song is it's a love song that, like most love songs, goes badly for the singer, really. It is based on the name of the song comes from, I'm getting an evil eye. The name of the song comes from Shakespeare's classic, Romeo and Juliette. It is not, in fact, about the actual Romeo and Juliette as far as I am aware. It was by Mark Knopfler, and I remember hearing this song way back when. I think I was probably at a stable yard somewhere, and someone had brought a ghetto blaster, as they called them in those days, to the stables with Dire Straits' Alchemy album on it. And this song, which is played by Mark Knopfler on a national guitar, which is those lovely steel guitars, steel all over, really captured my imagination, as it has many other people. And I used to play it in the boma all the time when I was in the bush. In fact, it was one of my staples. I played just about every time. And then I've played it at a few weddings as well. I'm not really sure why you'd want this as your wedding song, because it's not a very cheerful song. I think from the meaning of the song, she leaves him at the end. Anyway, I played it at weddings, and I just think it's a lovely song. So here it is. There is a rather extended introduction to it, if I get it right. And some of that belongs to Bill Whelan of Riverdance fame. Here we go. Romeo and Juliette. laying everybody low with a love song that he made. He finds it convenient, steps out of the shade, says something like, you and me, babe, how about it? Juliette's head's rim. Nearly gave me a heart attack. He's underneath the window, she's singing, Ella, my boyfriend's back. Shouldn't come around here singing other people like that. Julie, just stop. Anytime, Juliette, the dice was loaded from the start, and I forget when you exploded in my heart, and I forget, you know the movie song. So when you're gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong, Juliette. Come up on different streets, both the streets of shame, both dirty, both mean, then the dream was just the same. I dreamed a dream for you, so now your dream is real. How can you look at me as if I'm just another one of your deals, when you can fall for chains of silver, you can fall for chains of gold, you can fall for pretty strangers and the promises they've told. Promise me everything, you promise me thick and thin. Now you just say, oh Romeo, yeah, you know I used to have a scene with him. Juliette, when we made love you used to cry, said I love you like the stars above, love you until I die, and there's a place for us, you know the movie song. So when you gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong, Juliette? I can't do the talk like I talk on the TV, and I can't do a love song like a way it's meant to be. I can't do everything, but I'll do anything for you. Can't do anything, so be in love with you. And all I do is miss you, and the way it used to be. And all I do is keep the beats and the rock and roll company. And all I do is kiss you through the bars of a rhyme. Julie, under the stars with you. Anytime, Juliette, when we made love you used to cry, said I love you like the stars above, love you until I die, and there's a place for us, you know the movie song. So when you gonna realize it was just that the time was wrong, Juliette? Thanks, my babe. My wife is now going to check on the vegetables. She's she forgot to put them in. So she turned the oven on and didn't put the supper in. Supper will be late this evening, and we have load shedding tonight, so it's touch and go as to whether or not we'll actually have supper. Now she wants more wine. Wine from Badger and Mountain, no less.
Okay, do you want some questions?
Yes.
Okay, Zoe wants to know, have you ever played a 12-string and you like it? That's Zoe.
Zoe, yes, I have played a 12-string. I have a very nice 12-string. but I have no space for it here as well, so I leave it down in Kenton, and then when I'm down in Kenton with my folks, I play it there. I nearly brought it up this time. I was down there recently, but I really just didn't have any space. So I do play it. I like it very much. I enjoy it very much.
Ruth, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. Do you play the finger plucking method?
Ruth, do I play the finger plucking method? Let me just demonstrate how my wife showed me that. Yes, I play with my fingers. You might have noticed that I've got 4 nails on this hand, and it's a little awkward when you meet people. They think something's odd about you, which in my case is probably true. And so I play with my nails, then I also play with a plectrum, with a pick. It's something like that Romeo and Juliette can't be played really effectively with a pick.
Margaret wants to know if you play the flute.
Margaret, I can't play the flute. That flute part was originally played in the song Two Wrongs by a girl who was at varsity with us called Heather. And Heather was a very good flautist. How she managed to produce that solo from the scrawl of music paper I gave her is quite remarkable.
One more question.
One more.
James wants to know, how did you get into the music industry?
James, I think describing what I'm in as the music industry would be to give me a compliment that I do not deserve. I got into music, basically, I got into it twice. The first time, I tried to get into it twice. The first time was when I was at university. I was in this band, and I was convinced I wanted to be a musician for the rest of my life. And I was just about to go off to Johannesburg to become a musician when I was dragged off to the bush by a girlfriend I was seeing at the time, a terrifying woman. I did everything she told me to. And she said, "You're not going to be a musician, you're going to be a game ranger." So I said, okay. And I didn't really know what a game ranger did. Well, that was 20 years ago. I've done quite a lot of game ranging since then. Anyway, so I gave up music. Well, didn't give it up. I played all the time, but I never did it sort of professionally. And then, quite at a remarkable twist of fate, I followed another girl out of the bush back to the town, and I had no way of making a living as a man with a master's degree in human development, because you can't employ yourself with something like that. It's an utterly useless piece of paper that you have earned. Very interesting to get, no question. Useless in terms of trying to get a job. And so I fell back on my guitar, and I mentioned the choir master from my old school, St John's College, and he said that I could come and teach the guitar at St John's. So I started teaching little kids to start with, 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds, some of them. It was a trying time. A particular highlight I would like to share with you now, if you're not eating, was one winter, I think my second winter teaching, and I was sitting staring at this inane creature across from me who had been playing the same note for 6 weeks, clearly never took his guitar out of his bag at home unless it was to attack his siblings with it, but it certainly wasn't to practice the guitar. It was midwinter, and he was sitting there, and an enormous globule of snot came out of his right nostril, hit the soundboard about there, and slipped down into the guitar. And it was then that I realised that I perhaps wasn't cut out for teaching, but it kept me in porridge and low GI bread. And can I finish this question? Yeah, thanks. And I used to play on the weekends. A very kind friend of mine used to let me play at her restaurant, which was nice, and she'd pay me. And I used to play at the odd birthday party and that sort of thing. And then I gave it up again when I went back to the bush. And so that's my history in the music industry. I really love these things, though, by the way, if they qualify as part of the music industry.
I have to do one comment from Graham Ray. He said, "Well done, Barney. Really enjoying this."
Thanks. Thank you, Graham. That's my young friend, Graham Marais, who's giving some support to his little daughter and probably his wife. Okay. Right, the next song is a Johnny Clegg song. We always have a Johnny Clegg song, just about. And this one, it's not really, I don't sing the song because it has any particular meaning from the lyrics. I sing it because of the memories it gives me. Now, I went to university in 1995 to a place called the University of Natal in Pietermaritzburg. Now, it was known as a really hard drinking university. That's where you went if you wanted to drink. My capacity for alcohol before I go from upright to lying down is about a quarter of a beer or half a scotch, and then I become totally useless. And so, from a social point of view, it wasn't the ideal place for me to end up. And so what would happen is, on a Thursday night, I don't know why it was a Thursday, everyone else would go off drinking. This was also coupled with the fact that I probably hit puberty in my first year at university, so I was basically a small boy surrounded by young men. Very intimidating. I was also quite geeky, probably still am. And so the upshot of all this was that when everybody else went out to drink themselves into a stupor, I used to turn the music on in my room really loudly, and it was always a Johnny Clegg album. And this one, I had an album called Ubuhle Bemvelo. I actually don't remember what that means. But this particular song was the first song on the album, and it's called Umfazi omdala, which means the old woman. And the words go, Uyishayelane lengane sencane wemfazi omdala. How can you hit that child who's still so young, you old woman? It's an old man admonishing his wife, who's probably the grandmother of the young child. And he says, Nzokulula, I will set you free if you are not very careful. I'm not sure what he means by that, but it's quite a subtle way of saying, I'll probably get rid of you. So this is Umfazi omdala, Memories of 1995, although it was written long before that. Uyishayela lengane sencane wemfazi omdala zokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena ngizokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena. Uyishayela lengane sencane wemfazi omdala Uyishayela lengane sencane wemfazi omdala zokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena ngizokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena. Uyishayela lengane sencane wemfazi omdala Uyishayela lengane sencane wemfazi omdala zokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena zokhulula ngizokhulula wena. Thanks, babe. Right.
Your friend Gareth says, thanks for
Gareth is sitting in Cape Town. I can picture his face right now as we speak, looking fairly Malden. I'm sure he's got a very good glass of red wine with him. He is in fact a winemaker by trade. And the Cape is pretty foul at this time of the year, and many other times of the year actually. Right, next one. I must just tell you a little bit about... Oh.
Can I not ask you?
You can ask me as many questions as you like, my dear.
Why
Such a vicious look there.
You are using?
I'm using Cubase, Brian. That's what I'm using most of the time now, which is kind of relatively entry-level music software. And then I use the strings come from a sample library called Vienna Instruments, which is quite useful. And that's how I write. So for the for those of you who are interested, for the string arrangements that I do, I write the parts out. Each instrument, I write them out, and it's quite easy to do on a computer if you understand harmony. But even if you don't understand harmony, you can get the computer to do it for you. I don't do that because A, I don't know how to, and B, I was mercifully trained in the arts of writing harmony. So I write the harmonies myself, and I find it an enormously satisfying experience. So that's on Cubase.
Lots of people want to know if you will make a CD.
A lot of people want to know if I'll make a CD. Do people still buy CDs? An album or a CD? I would like to. It does, it requires quite a lot of time, and I mean, I've got 3 songs that I'd like to put on an album: Sunrise, that Catch the Falling Light, which I've done for you, Cry in the Sun, which I've done for you, and there are a couple of others. Yeah, a lot of you saying you do buy CDs. Well, we'll do it then. I think at some stage it must be done. Probably not in the next 6 months.
Spats wants to know if you prefer bass or electric guitar.
Spats, I don't own a bass guitar, so there's your answer. Okay, here we go. This next song, I must fire up the amp for. I played this actually at my young friend Graham's wedding. Lovely song by David Gilmour, and it comes from Pink Floyd, but from after they split. And a friend of mine who I mentioned earlier, called Donald Gibson, introduced me to the song, and I like all versions of it, but the particular version that I heard first was from a DVD called Remember the Night, or Remember That Night, and it was from a 2006 performance at the Royal Albert Hall, and it blew my mind. The song's called Coming Back to Life. It's just so gorgeous, and I always wanted to play it from then on, and in fact I bought an electric guitar simply so that I could play it. It wasn't this particular one, another one, and I listen to the song at least probably once every 2 weeks now, and I never get sick of it. And so that's the only reason I'm playing it here. And there was something else I wanted to say about it, but I've now forgotten what that was. Anyway, here it is, Coming Back to Life. I need to fire up my backing track now. Okay. Kirsten, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Just got to remember how it goes. Okay, I think we're fine. We should be all right. I was burned and broken, while the days slip by from my window watching. And where were you when I was hurt and I was helpless? Because the things you do and the things you say surround me, while you were hanging yourself, someone else's words, dying to believe in what you heard. I was staring straight into the shining sun. Lost in thought and lost in time, while the seeds of life and the seeds of change are planted outside. The rain fell dark and slow, while I pondered on this dangerous but irresistible pastime. I took a heavenly ride through our silence. I knew the moment had arrived for killing the past and coming back to life. That is Coming Back to Life by David Gilmour, one of my very favourite songs.
That was the best one.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
My wife thinks that was my best one. Really?
No, I'm speaking for the people.
Not convinced myself, but there it is. Right, that's it. Are we doing an encore tonight?
Yeah. You do have 12% left on your camera though.
Okay.
I think
12% battery left. As is traditional with the encore, which I seemingly always do without being asked, I haven't actually practiced this one. So we're just going to see what happens. This one is a classic everyone will probably know, by a British guitar player, little known guitar player known as Eric Clapton. And this particular one is called Wonderful Tonight. I hope I remember the word.
everyone now shouts an encore.
Good.
My mom likes it.
Your mum likes what? This song?
Well,
Oh, good. My mother-in-law likes the last song. It's wonderful. Not sure that she's an entirely unbiased representative, but thank you. Thank you, Gail. All right, here we go. I don't think I have any particular memories attached to this song. But like Romeo and Juliette, I've never sung it about a particular lady. And I suppose I could sing it about my wife, except she's got red hair. Praise be. Now, the song itself was actually written by Eric Clapton about George Harrison's wife. So I suppose that's not very nice. Right, here we go. It's late in the evening. She's wondering what clothes to wear. Puts on her makeup and brushes her long blonde hair. And then she asks me, do I look alright? And I say yes. You look wonderful tonight. We go to a party and everyone turns to see this beautiful lady. She's walking around with me. And then she asks me, do I feel alright? And I say yes, I feel wonderful tonight. I feel wonderful because I see the love writing in your eyes. And the wonder of it all is that you just don't realize how much I love you. It's time to go home now. I've got an aching head, so I give her the car keys, and she helps me home to bed. And then I tell her, as I turn out the light, I say, my darling, you were wonderful tonight. I say, my darling, you were wonderful tonight. We're now going to go and cook dinner before the lights go out. Thank you.
One more question.
Yes, I can take as many questions as the battery lasts.
8%. Let's see. Got a lady catch up?
If we
Julia
do...
wants to know what is your favourite song to play? Dilla.
Oh, Dilla, I love that coming back to life, but it's the first time I've actually performed it on an electric... second time I performed it on electric guitar. The first time was at Graham's wedding. But first time I've done it with a backing track. I'm going to do some more work on it. I think it's a beautiful song, and I really love playing that solo. I also like playing Sunrise. Never performed Sunrise live before, so that's a new one. And maybe we'll have a greatest hits at some stage and rehear something. Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much. You say it's far too short. How long has it? It's been almost an hour. Thank you very much for joining us, both. Tom, we're having an extremely exciting dinner, Tom. We're having roast vegetables. And feta. Can't wait. Really ravenous. Not going to clear up before I eat. Good. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We will both join you next week, same time, same place. Not sure if it'll be the same setup, but there it is. Thank you very much, and a good night.